all the major cities are controlled by the left. And I grew up in Michigan. I'm from a little town called Muskegon, Michigan, across the state from Detroit, Michigan. So when we'd go to the big city of Detroit, it was a big thing. I saw my first motion picture, by the way, in the wicked city of Detroit, Michigan. But Detroit at that point, when I was a little boy, was beautiful buildings, beautiful theaters, beautiful factories even, really great architecture. And today, Detroit looks like a bomb hit it.
That's exactly right. Many bombs.
Many bombs, yeah.
They've destroyed Detroit. And you can date it from 1961. 1961, Detroit had the richest per capita population in the country. It was the industrial jewel of the United States. That's when a Democrat mayor was elected. And over the next, whatever it is, 30 or 40 years, Detroit went into such a decline, it lost 2/3 of its population. And it's a bombed out city. And its poverty rates are off the charts. It's 100% controlled by the Democratic Party. But every killing field in America, Chicago, St. Louis, Ferguson.
That's just up the lake from my hometown.
Yes.
And Chicago, I loved Chicago. I go there and see the great department stores when I was a little boy in the L there, you know, and all.
Oh, yeah.
And today, do you know the population of Chicago is going down instead of up?
Of course.
Right now.
It's too dangerous.
People are leaving
You
Chicago.
get killed in Chicago sooner than you get killed in Iraq. But it's not just Chicago, it's St. Louis, Ferguson, St. Louis, Baltimore. These are all cities that are 100% controlled by the Democratic Party and have been for 50 to 100 years. And that, look, the catch and release policies, Dwayne Wade's aunt, beautiful mother of 4 children, was killed by 2 felons who shouldn't have been on the street, but the Democrats have the catch and release policy. And then they have gun control, so law-abiding citizens in the inner city can't get guns to defend themselves. I mean, they don't have Secret Service. If you were a welfare mother in Detroit, the only protection you would have is what you can put in your night table drawer, and they can't get it.
When we have cities where you can run and hide and you can commit a crime, you can be a murderer, and you can have safe haven.
Sanctuary cities.
Yeah. Is that, how do you explain that?
The Sanctuary Cities movement was created by the ACLU, which is a supporter of terrorists. It's an organization that gets the terrorists out of Guantanamo. They devised this after 9/11 to sabotage the Patriot Act. That's what it was designed. Actually, I have several pages in my book, Big Agenda, about this, and I print the Sanctuary City resolution. And it's like 350 Democrat-controlled cities. And they say you can't cooperate with the Department of Homeland Security. They don't want you to look at people's beliefs. It bars local authorities from looking at the beliefs. Look, if you believe that Islam is the only religion, that everybody else is an infidel, and if your Bible says slay the infidels wherever you find them, and then you have a system of laws, Sharia, which imposes an Islamic religious code that takes away the rights of women, takes away the rights of gays, takes away the rights actually of everybody who doesn't follow the orthodoxy of the church, you got a dangerous person.
That's right.
But why do you think the FBI, every time they get one of these terrorists, they already had him on the files? Why do you think they can't prosecute them or do something about it? It's because of this injunction that it's religion and they're protected. They have religious freedom, but Christians, I don't know, who don't want to serve cakes at gay marriages, they don't have religious freedom.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
You're telling the truth. I mean, this is the flat out truth.
You know, the thing I'm concerned about is, I'm one of the few ministers in America that has dared to buck the Johnson Amendment.
Right.
And stand up for what we believe.
Yes.
And to stand up for change in America.
Yes.
And the thing that's really difficult for me to understand is why the biggest share of churches and ministries just simply are not addressing where we are right now. We're having an investigation, I don't know what you would call it, of our president right now. Even as we're taping this show, they're interrogating the former head of the FBI,
right. James Comey,
and other,
yes.
And they've been doing this, and our government and our senators and Congress, they're working as hard as they can to indict the president of the United States, to destroy the president.
It isn't going to happen, but this is the weirdest, most extreme witch hunt in the history of the country. There's no evidence whatsoever.
That's
right.
And
you talk about the Democrats, they're the people who, during the Cold War, said there was a moral equivalence with the Soviet Union. We were as bad as they were. I mean, it's ridiculous. Totally absurd. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think the American people are too smart. Donald Trump could never have been elected if people believed what they read in the newspapers and saw on television.
That's the truth.
Amen.
Absolutely.
My dear friend Alan Dershowitz made a statement. Can I just roll that right now? Guys in the control room, please roll that, would you?
So, Professor Dershowitz, you said this is not obstruction of justice by the president and that it actually strengthens his position against Director Comey. How so?
Well, first of all, let's look at the big constitutional picture. The president could have told Comey, you are commanded, directed to drop the prosecution against Flynn. The president has the right to do that. Comey acknowledges that. He says in the statement that historically, presidents have done that to the Justice Department. But in the last few years, we've had a tradition of separation. But that tradition doesn't create crime. Remember also what the president could have done. He could have said to Comey, stop this investigation. I am now pardoning Flynn. That's what President Bush did. You cannot have obstruction of justice when the president exercises his constitutional authority to pardon, his constitutional authority to fire the director of the FBI, or his constitutional authority to tell the director of the FBI who to prosecute, who not to prosecute.
My dear friend Alan Dershowitz, who's the reason I'm sitting here as a free man today.
Right.
And I honor this man. And he is a Democrat.
The last true liberal.
But what do you think of what he just said?
I think he's absolutely right, and it shows how absurd this whole thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we don't have enough Republicans like Trump yet. Right. This is very important because Trump is not afraid to confront the left for what they are. I mean, one of my favorite moments was during the debates when he looked Hillary Clinton in the eye and he said, "You're a liar and a crook," which he is both. But there's not another Republican in the entire country who would say that to her because she's a woman. Right. And they're all so politically correct.
We've got to come and face the truth.
Yes.
Our churches will close down soon if we don't see a change in America. You don't understand it. It's time. And that's why today I want you to get this book.
Yes.
I made a vow 2 years ago I was not going to promote books anymore. And yet we became the #1 seller of books in America.
It's crazy, but true.
They just...
If I was you, I would call right now because
Lori, you read it.
I did, and I this book, you have made it so easy for the average person like me to understand what's going on.
Listen, this man is a brilliant man.
Yes.
He's a genius, I believe, with all my heart.
Me too.
He is so brilliant. And yet he has written a book that I can understand and you can understand. And he is telling the truth.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
My God, what's wrong with truth?
Right.
You know, truth will actually set you free.
That's what the Bible says. Jesus said that.
I'm so concerned about America that I didn't know if this man would come on my show. or not, because he's so famous and probably rich. I don't know. But, so he's probably rich and famous.
Again, from your lips to God's.
Yes.
We're all going to be using that from now on, David.
You've written anyway.
Yes,
and
we're all using that from now on.
I want you to read the book.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you can't, go to the library and get it if you won't order it from me.
It's excellent.
Right.
I'm not in the book business, but I get in it whether I want to or not. And I'll tell you what, and I only offer books that I believe in.
It's the truth. It's so true. And I have to say,
would you do something? Buy this book, wrap it in a plain brown wrapper, and send it to your pastor, your priest, your rabbi. Just send it to him. And
churches have got to get into this fight, this political fight.
Yes.
I still cannot quite understand how the Christian world could sit and be silent while ISIS was slaughtering the oldest Christian community on the planet, which is in Iraq.
Yeah.
The cathedral in Mosul had continuous sermons since the time of St. Paul.
My goodness.
Until Obama let them in, let these ISIS terrorists in by pulling us out of Iraq, by ending the base there. And the churches where are they?
Yeah.
Why aren't they fighting? I mean, it is a life and death issue.
ISIS destroying every church, every monument, everything that they can destroy.
Progressivism, you have to understand the threat from progressivism. It's a rival religion. That's why they're so anti-religious. They see God-fearing people.
It's a religion that wants to wipe out all the other religions.
Oh, and that believes that they're the saviors.
Right.
Do you guys get it at all? Yeah. You look at me like I'm, deers in the headlight. Do you understand what he's telling us? But first of all, before the end of the show, I want you to order the book before the lines are jammed. You'll understand Trump. Some of you people, you think Trump is, I'll tell you what some of you think he's kooky. You think he's a little different. You think he's strange. You think, and they all kind of, and you think combs his hair funny. You just think all kinds of things. And people, this is not about Trump. No. He is important, and he has a big agenda. And this book will give you the Trump agenda. It will give it to you in plain English. Mm-hmm. It will tell you what happened in America. Here's a man sitting by me who was a communist. He was a liberal Democrat. I'm not insulting you.
I was always to the left of the Democratic Party because it wasn't that left when I was young.
Right.
It was an American party. Now it's an anti-American party.
What was communism like when your parents and all you?
Well, they were part of a vast international conspiracy orchestrated from Moscow. They wanted Stalin and the Soviet Union to win the Cold War. My parents were school teachers. They were law-abiding citizens, but they had secret party names for the day when the revolution would come, and they would be overthrowing the government and making us like Soviet Russia. Mm-hmm. That was their idea. Mm-hmm. The difference between today's progressives is that the Soviet Union is no longer their icon, but their mentality is exactly the same. They want to overthrow the American way. Let me give you, I've written about this, that we're really in a civil war period. First of all, we have a tradition in America of a honeymoon for an incoming president. Why is that? It's because America, unlike other countries, we're not subject to all these violent revolutions and coups d'etats because we have a framework created by the founders which says we're all part of one country and we settle our disputes by elections. So when an election is over, you have a honeymoon for the incoming president, which says, okay, the campaign was divisive, that's what campaigns are, harsh things were said, but we're still all Americans. And therefore, we're going to confirm, as long as you didn't, have nominated people of bad character or what have you, we're going to confirm your team, let you get your team in place, and start your agenda before we start attacking you. And Gallup says that the average honeymoon for an incoming president is 7 months. Trump didn't get 7 seconds.
No.
He didn't get confirmation hearings. He got a witch hunt.
That's right.
He got Jeff Sessions is one of the most decent, half a dozen most decent human beings in the United States Senate. He was really a champion of civil rights. He was the attorney general in a deep South state, Alabama, which is where the civil rights movement was born. He prosecuted the Ku Klux Klan. He sent a Klan leader to his death for a racial murder. He desegregated the schools. And the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, Blumenthal, all said he was a racist. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
But that's the reception Trump got. And then they were attacking him from calling for his impeachment before he was even sitting in the Oval Office.
Impeachment.
Just
that's what we keep at. Impeachment for what, Maxine Waters?
Let me explain the Civil War.
Okay.
Why is it so bad? Because the Democratic Party is driven by an ideology which is fundamentally anti-American. It's called identity politics. America was founded by Protestants, basically, and could only have been founded by Protestants, because the Protestant Reformation was to take out human institutions, like the church, out of the communication between an individual and his or her creator. And in our birth certificate, the Declaration of Independence, it says in so many words that we are all endowed by our Creator. Our Creator sees us as equals. We're equal in His eyes, so we need to be equal before the government. The government cannot interfere with this relationship. That's the genius of America. So we were founded by people who came from many different countries. We're very diverse communities. And we pledged ourselves to treat each individual on their merits as equals, regardless of origins. It took us 200 years to make good on that promise, which was made good on by the Civil Rights Acts of '64 and '65. What drives the Democratic Party today? To judge everybody on their origins, your race, your color, your gender, your sexual orientation. That's what we see first. And we excuse everything else. So you have career predators. Just take Freddie Gray in Baltimore. Spent his life preying on the black community. He's a civil rights hero, a civil rights martyr now. The Democratic view of the world is anti-American. Not only un-American, it's anti-American. And that's why we're in this fundamental clash between left and right. The right, we stand for individuals, for equality, for judging people regardless of their origins.
Brilliant.
This book.
And let me just say for Trump, they attacked his inaugural address because he talked about the carnage in the inner cities as though that doesn't exist.
That's right.
This is what the Democrats, they want to cover up the murders of black people and Hispanics too in the inner cities. But Trump said in the inaugural, though, was this. He posed this American idea of we're all one as Americans, as children of one creator. He said, if we are loyal to our country, we can learn to be loyal to each other. If we have patriotism in our hearts, there will be no room for prejudice. We are black and brown and white, but we all bleed patriot.
Yeah.
Right.
Why? Where are the men and the great leaders that would stand up against this trial of our president for no crime? They're going to create a crime if they can.
Well, yeah, it's what the KGB head Lavrentiy Beria said to Stalin. Show me the crime or show me the man and I'll give you the crime.
People, are you watching what's going on in America?
Yes.
Are you understanding what's going on?
Yes.
They've taken a duly elected president and they put him on trial for a crime that most people don't even know what the crime is.
Right.
They're trying to make up a crime.
They don't even say, what's the crime?
Right.
They don't even say the crime.
Exactly. That's
There's
true.
no crime.
Why are they obsessed with Russia?
Because it's a stick to beat the president with. And the Democrats. And they're going to fail. I don't believe out in this part of the country or the whole center of the country, people are really concerned that Vladimir Putin has Trump in his pocket. That's ridiculous.